Thank you for staying with us. The United Kingdom has returned to the Nigerian government over £4.2 million recovered from a former governor of Delta State, James Ibori, who was convicted of corruption charges in the UK in 2012. The money, which translates to about 2.4 billion naira at the official exchange rate, has ignited fireworks between the different tiers and arms of government. While the House of Representatives and the Delta State government want the money transferred from the coffers of the federal government to the state, the federal government says the money will be used to finance federal projects. With ultimatums for a refund of the money to the Delta State government flying all over the place, the stage is now set for a legal battle, as some stakeholders say they will be taking the matter to the courts. Joining me now to shed more light on this issue is a public affairs analyst and the publisher of Inside Watch Africa, Seyi Adeyemo. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning for having me.
Well, now, some will say that this is not the first time Nigeria is recovering loot, but the kind of reaction this particular one, talking about the Ibori loot, is generating is it's generating a lot of reactions that some Nigerians are wondering, is it necessary? In the first place, the federal government is saying that it is going to use this loot for federal government projects. And on the other hand, some human rights lawyers and lawyers, some persons are saying that no, this money was taken out of the coffers of a state government, that's the Delta State government, so should be returned as such. Where do you stand, first of all, on which divide? Where do you stand with regards to this? Should the federal government take over this monies, or should it be returned to?
I stand on the side of fairness, and for me, it is. I mean, you just said that it's not the first time this is happening. And the precedent is the fact that they've sent the money at every point in time back to those who are the immediate people who actually were affected by the loot. In the case of Plateau State, the money was sent back to Plateau State. In the case of Bayelsa, the money was sent back to Bayelsa. So if that is the case, for the sake of fairness, I'm surprised that we're having to talk about this, because at the end of the day, we're of the same country, and the good, whatever happens, for instance, in Delta State, it's for the good of the federal government. Now, in my opinion, if you have a house divided against itself, then you begin to wonder and ask yourself, what exactly is happening to that house? Because if the British or the United Kingdom have insisted or came to an agreement with us, which is the claim of the federal government, that they would want the money to be used for a federal project, I imagine when we get home, since we have a constitution, and it is clear that it's the Deltans that were directly affected. The money was stolen from the coffers of Delta people. So I'm surprised, really. I mean, I must confess to you, I'm strongly worried.
And that's the question on the lips of many. Why is Delta State different?
Why are we talking about it at all? Because look, for me, last year and this year, I've kind of given everybody in the world an opportunity to reset and be fairer than what we were before. Because it then dawned on every one of us that we actually could die. That something could just happen to us, and they call it a virus, and all of a sudden, all of us could be locked at home and we could not travel. And up till now, travel is not at the stage it was before. Yes, a lot of people are now traveling, but it is very clear that the world is short. We need to be fair in the way we deal with ourselves. Nigeria is dealing with security issues. When you go to the root of it, it's about fairness. So I'm wondering, why are we talking about this when it is clear that the money belongs to the Deltans?
But the federal government said that, through the Attorney General of the Federation, where he said that the Delta State government was seemingly not involved in the recovery of these monies in its argument, basically.
It is clear that they will not be involved. When you talk about nationalities. You don't expect Delta State to be discussing with United Kingdom. The appropriate thing is that it is Nigeria that will discuss on behalf of the Deltans. Like I said, Delta State is in Nigeria. So if you go out to discuss on our behalf, every month, every governor goes to Abuja to collect federal allocation.
Absolutely.
So everything is warehoused with the federal government. But what is due to everyone should be given to everyone. So, I mean, everyone I've spoken to, we've continued to play in our head. Why are we even discussing this in the first place?
Shouldn't be discussed?
In the first place, because it shouldn't happen.
The law is clear, and so we should follow the law.
The moment the money came back, or was going to come back. I mean, and why I'm a little worried is because, so we're still expecting over $100 million. And if we're discussing or going to court on 4.2, I mean, so what will happen to the rest of the bigger chunk that is not yet here? And that is why I believe that everybody must play their role well, so that at the end of the day, you then would not have a situation where our money that has been agreed, that is our money, Nigerian money now, would be in the UK, because they will say, oh, they're fighting. They've not resolved.
Because they're asking that we have a conversation. And I'm wondering what should be at the front burner. Since you're saying your word now, if we had to have a conversation, first of all, do you see that happening? And if it should happen, what should be at the front burner of the conversation that should be had?
So what I think is, that ought to be in the front burner is the fact that, look, so this is one house, this is one family. Gentlemen, this is for the good of Nigeria. And so we agree that it's your money. But the only problem we have is, because we're not trusting you, we want a committee where we'll make sure that the money is spent judiciously for the Delta people, because I think that's the only reason why they would want to say in the first place that he wanted to
So you think the issue of trust is a major problem? I
mean, what's got to be one of the problems, because that's why the UK is saying, we're going into agreement with you. We want to make sure that you judiciously use the money. You must tell us clearly the project you want to use it for. So Delta State is in Nigeria, like I said. They should represent their thing and say, okay, yes, we're going to use it in Nigeria, but we're going to use it in projects in Delta State. End of story. It's still in Nigeria. So they will have used the money for those projects, but it is now for the benefit, for the direct benefit of Deltans, because that is what is fair.
Now, so you think that, what do you see happening if at the end of the day, the state in question, talking about Delta State, does not benefit from this money?
Obviously, I mean, what you are going to be looking for is, one, a judicial process. A lot of people will go to court, apart from, because then at the end of the day, we almost must remember that when you talk about the state, a lot of people are party to it. So you then have the government, you have people of Delta, they themselves as party can go to court. So you'll have a lot of judicial, and I think that is unnecessary. Then another thing that we always must bring to the table in cases like this is then you then give the youth on the street a reason to say, oh, we're not being catered for. Oh, the rest of Nigeria is marginalizing us. They're working against us. So for that reason, we're going to go. When we have issues with all sorts of things on ground, when you have issues with Amotekun, you have issues with all sorts of people going around doing all sorts of things. Right now, this is not the time for me to be stirring up anything that can spark up any unrest, particularly with the youth. NSAS is not far from here. The youth and Nigerians must understand that, look, Nigerian youth have become more aware. They've become more agitated. They've become more angry at the system. So when you do things now, you should be more careful than you were before, because you are not going to be able to scale or run away with the kind of things you used to run away with, because people are getting more angry at the system. There's stronger apathy in the system, and the youth are not to be joked with. They're not to be, given a reason to want to do things that will not start to. I don't. sometimes some of us just get so confused because so you have so many things to deal with, and all of them are very volatile, and you're now doing things that would bring more
volatility
into the system, and you're wondering why.
Maybe they're not seeing it from that perspective.
I don't think it's rocket science. I think it's very, very clear. I think it's a clear issue of being fair to yourself. Because then some of us begin to ask ourselves the question, the idea of me saying, oh, this is not federal government, this is Delta, this is Southwest, this is Northwest. I think those are the kind of things that as a people we need to deal with, because we are one Nigeria. And if Mr. President sits on that seat on behalf of the whole country, when an issue like this come on the table, I imagine that he would, with a lot of dispatch, because it's an emergency, you should not, like I said, there are too many things on his table to deal with. This is something he should just, with his left hand, just quickly sign off and say, oh yeah, go and give the money back to them. Make sure you set up a committee and ensure that the money is judiciously spent so that we can at least report back to those who help us to collect the money in the first place, and they see that the money was judiciously used for a project in Nigeria, in Delta.
We'll come back to the issue of being judiciously spent, but the Attorney General of the Federation reacting in this manner is something a lot of persons are saying that this is someone that understands, that should understand the law and knows the law, and is coming out to say things like this. What does it say? I mean, what impression does that give?
So what it gives, the impression I get from this is, so usually when people are on a particular side, they see things from that particular side. No matter how you claim that you're, objective, I've always said to people, that word is a word that I'm not very comfortable with. I believe that everybody is very subjective. I believe that most often we're all biased. We'll look at things from most of the time from our own point of view. But when it comes to a situation where it borders on a family issue, I think we have the help from the fact that, oh, this is about us. We should have something, which is one of the things we need to deal with as a people. We need to have a line that we can all run to, and that sort of determines what happens to every one of us. I think that's a problem. Most of the time it is easy for everybody to just walk around because there's no line. There's no place where we say, oh, at this point, at least this is what the law says. This is what is right. This is what is fair. That, for me, is where we have a blurry issue. It's so blurred that everyone have a right to say, no, you're driving on the wrong side of the road. The guy says, no be you drive for it. So it becomes, you are wondering, why are we arguing about this? Because it is obvious that you're driving on the wrong side of the road. But I think we'll keep talking about it. I'm one of those Nigerians who believe that one of the ways to get out of this is to continue to talk about it, not be quiet, to make sure that we're very, very loud, we sorosoke and shout about it. And at the end of the day, I'm sure that in the very, very near future, we'll start to do things rightly. Because in the first place, it's even an indictment on us that the UK is insisting and telling us, really,
must have a conversation.
After all of these years of independence, they're giving us back our money, and they're telling us they're giving us
what to do.
It's for that reason we need to cover our face and quickly do these things fast and do it well and do it fairly and do it in a way that it will show to the world that we're Nigerians. Because at the end of the day, as bad as we want to try and drag Nigeria into the mud, Nigeria is a fantastic brand, probably one of the finest countries in the world.
With this case, you think we're trying to drag Nigeria into the mud?
Oh, that's what we're trying to do. Oh, that's what we're just trying to make them think that we are bad when we're not bad. Because when you have a situation that you ought to solve at home,
without any form of interference.
Yeah, and you take it's like the popular saying that says you're washing your dirty linen in the public. That's what we're doing. Because this is an home issue. This is an house issue. You should solve it at home. And there should not be any time that this should come on news. It will have been solved. Everybody just comes, there's a shaking, there's a congratulation, there's a patting on the back, everybody's going to bed, and there is an encouragement. There is a sign, there's a precedence that, of the truth, we're beginning to turn in the right direction. So for those who had a lot of anger you are going to be damping those anger. And the way it works, it cuts across. Because so we're all referring to Plateau, we're all referring to Bayelsa now. You would then start to refer to data and say, oh, even when the thing wanted to cause an argument, the Mr. President quickly stepped into it and he, played the role of the father of the house, and he was able to douse the tension. I have a feeling that we're now on the right direction. That is the kind of narrative some of us are expecting. And I am expecting it like from this morning. I'm expecting that he will go on TV and say to Nigerians, don't worry, we're on top of this. This is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to do. And we're going to give the money to Delta because they deserve to. Because what you have done is, so you allocated a certain amount to people, and they were meant to have benefited from that money. The money was not used. So now that you have access to that money, give it back to them so that they can get those things. Have you gone to Delta and you have said, no, this place is too fine, there's no more project to do, so let's go and do other project? Is that the case? No. We all know that there are too many things to be done in Delta. They have a lot of things to use the money for. So why are you denying them their money that have been allocated to them? Because we should trace the history. Did the money come from the air? No. The money came from the federal coffers, was allocated to them.
The state, yeah.
So the money was from there, return it back to there. Simple as that.
All right. Now, let's come to the issue of judicious use of monies, which you mentioned earlier, because there's been this conversation around recovered loot, people not really understanding or having a breakdown of what the government has done with regards to this monies recovered. It is something that we see some organization pursue. We've seen Sarah pursue this case over the years, which they're also speaking about even now. If you say that you want to use this for the construction of certain roads, how is it going to be done? I'll break down, and that talks about transparency of database for those recovered loots and what it is done. I wonder what concerns you have with regards to that.
I think it's another wonderful opportunity that we all have to make sure that we do things in a proper way, because that's the way it's done all over the world. That's why people seem to be as, maybe they are better than us. They're not. Every human being is bad, as far as I'm concerned. What happens in those areas is that they are forced by the system to bring certain things onto the table so everybody can see it. So if everybody sees it, it becomes difficult for you to steal it because it is on the table. So what has happened over time is that in this space, we have the liberty to do things, and they will just paint it with a particular color and nobody sees it. So if you have such an arrangement, the next person in line is waiting for his own turn to go and have that same party, because for me it's a party. At the end of the day, it is everybody's money. It's meant to be used for a particular purpose. So why are you keeping the record? I'll give you a very, very quick example. So when Mr. El-Rufai became the director of BPE at the time, he said he was told that there were certain people who would normally take all the contracts in the house. He said what he did was, okay, guys, what we're going to do is we're expected to publicly, publish whatever we do. So what we're going to do is, because you're the fathers of this house, we'll still give you a part, but the rest of it will be published. So even if you're able to still win the rest of the contract, I will have done my job by making sure that the thing is out there. We will make sure that, and that helped. It changed the things there. So the problem was nobody gets to know that there was contract. There are few people who keep doing it. But when the man came, he said, no, let's put it there. That is what the law stipulates. In our Nigerian law, it is expected that when you want to do certain things, that's why you have budget, where you have things like that. Yeah. So you are supposed to make sure that those things are done and put out there for everybody to see. So this is another opportunity for us to do things right, like it's done everywhere. And that is why makes them look like they're better than us. I keep saying every human being, whether you're white, whether you're black, we're all funny people all over the world. We see it in America in recent times, and we see how things played out, and we see how things are now changing because you have somebody who is saying, no, we can do things by the book. So let's do it by the books.
Do you trust the system? Because you talked about in other places, the system forces them to do things correctly.
Yes.
Now, are you saying that perhaps our system is not giving room for that?
No, so it's about all of us failing. I think as a people, we've been too quiet. I think as a people, we've not asked enough questions. I think this is also, that's why I said it's an opportunity for us to ask more questions and be very particular. Look, at the end of the day, these people will come back to us to come and campaign. At the end of the day, we are the people who would then vote them in and say, yes, it's good, it's this, it's that. we need to understand, at least with all of these experiences, this recent experience, we ought to see that certain things are certain things we need to look out for and make sure that we do not make the same mistake over and over again as a people. Let's keep asking questions and making sure that we demand accountability from our public offices.
Demanding accountability seems to be a Herculean task for a lot of Nigerians.
It is, but it is something we need to do because that's what we're actually doing here. And so what I imagine we should do is all over the place, whatever platform we have, with all the, what do you call them now? This guys, social media. Yeah, social media and the people who call them critics and all of that. Every platform that we have, we should take full advantage of it, make sure we are very loud, because that usually is the problem. And I keep wondering, so you get a bag of rice, so you get a cup of something, you get this, and at the end of the day, you're willing to just look on the other side. Or so you're afraid they will not come and arrest you and all that. And I said to people,
do you think perhaps at some point they get tired because they have spoken about this over time?
How can you be tired of your welfare? How can I be tired of me? I mean, this is me now. It's like telling me that I'm tired of brushing my mouth or tired of eating. This is my life. I don't have another life. I'm a Nigerian. And everything that fails, whether it is in Delta or Sokoto or Borno, is my problem. And so at my level, if I fail to talk and I say I'm tired, then I'm tired of living. I should live here. What am I doing in this place? I should just go. You see, truth of the matter is, as Nigeria, as far as I'm concerned, this is a collective responsibility and all of us have failed. And we should go back to the table and make noise more. You know, when the youth said we should Sorosoke, and people saw it as a youth thing, I begin to wonder, we as elders should also Sorosoke. We should talk more because that's what happens out there. Something happens in the US, something happens in the UK, you find out people go out, they talk. In fact, from morning to night, sometimes you're wondering, the way they go about it in different angles, they will make comedies about it, they would so put pressure on the person that no matter how bad you are, you'll start to rethink.
We have seen some of that happen.
We do it more, so yes. we increase it. That's what I'm saying. It is happening here, so we increase it more until, because there's no other way. The only way, look, the days of Fani Kayode, may God bless his soul, and the rest of them, they used to go to court on behalf of Nigerians. They would use their money. Unfortunately, we've not seen that in recent times. We need to have that back more. We need to have Nigerians who will say, we're going to invest in this because there's no other way. You're not going to carry guns. I will never, ever subscribe to going on the street, carrying guns and things, because at the end of the day, you're destroying your own property. This is our property. Whether somebody else is there as a caretaker or not, it is our property and we all must find a way of protecting it.
All right, Seyi Adeyemo, publisher of Inside Watch Africa. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me
on the program.
Thank you.